Hello, Hollywood Times viewer, Judy Shields here. Today we welcome Ethan S. Smith, executive producer on a new short film entitled Waiving. The short film will have its opening night at the Holly Shorts Film Festival at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood on Thursday, August 8th. Ethan is also a person with OCD, a patient advocate, and one who lives with OCD. Well, hello, Ethan.
Hi, Judy.
Where are you dialing in from?
I'm dialing in from Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, that's awesome. What's the weather over there?
Sunny and 93% humidity.
Oh, wow. I think you said you lived out here in the West Coast, so we have the heat, but not that humidity. How'd you get used to it?
No, I was actually born in Texas and
You
grew
were
up in Florida as well, so it's not that bad. But when
okay.
I lived in LA for 10 years and would come back, all the used to it goes away. So,
Oh, I tell you, like we don't we all here in Southern California, we complain about the heat, but it's like, how would you like to be in Texas or back there?
well, right now you're in that what, like 110 to 115 6-week zone, and then it drops back down again.
Thank you for reminding me.
You're absolutely welcome.
That's a pleasure. Well, let's talk about Waiving. It's really the first film to show just how devastating OCD can be. Can you tell us how you became involved with this short film?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a ton of international advocacy for obsessive compulsive disorder. I was born with it and had it most of my life until becoming completely bedridden and unable to function, and receiving life-changing treatment at 31, so about 12, 13 years ago. It's quite a debilitating mental disorder. And so I've been doing a lot of advocacy over the last 12, 13 years, so other individuals don't have to go through what I went through. And and I'm also a filmmaker, former actor and writer, producer, director. And so, yeah, people kind of know me in the community as a filmmaker. So I get approached by a fair amount of people doing documentaries or short films or films on the subject of OCD. But this particular film came across my desk, and I really, really loved everything from the script to the people attached, and really thought it was a story that needed to be told. So jumped on board.
What was your role from the start to the finish?
Yeah, so I was the executive producer. I came in the middle. The far more creative Rolfin, Nyhus, and Steve Brumwell, who wrote and directed the film over in the UK, I have to give them credit for the creative mastermind that is the film. But yeah, I got involved at the financing point and reached out to friends and so forth, and then obviously creatively weighed in as well, and edits and things like that. So but it was quite an amazing journey, and seeing the film come to fruition, especially during COVID.
Yeah, it's got to be, what was that like during COVID?
It was challenging. I mean, in the UK, I mean, as everywhere, people were really needing to work, and we were just coming out of it, so we were able to get cooking on some things and make some things happen. So that was great.
So, and I understand Stephen Brumwell, he's the writer, director. He has OCD as well. That's where this came from, this story.
He does. He's the co-director with
Wonderful.
Rolfin, who is lead director, but Steven wrote it. And yeah, he has OCD as well. And Charlie, who is the protagonist in the film, is loosely based on his own experiences with OCD, a lot of his own intrusive thoughts. So the horror that sort of Charlie has to deal with in the film is very much based on Steve's experiences with OCD.
So what did you think when you first seen the set? The set is pretty, well, pretty intense.
Yeah, the set design and direction is and the production design is absolutely phenomenal. Especially, on a shoestring short budget. We were fortunate enough to get Ralph Ineson attached, who, his face, may not know his
Yes.
name, definitely know his name in the UK, but is a brilliant actor. And so they really outdid themselves on the production design. The sets, I think they brought in 30 tons of sand for that indoor scene, sort of inside his mind. And so I thought, when I was reading the script, how are they going to approach really executing the creative aspects of this? Because let's be frank, it's obtuse, it's abstract, it's very meta, and so, but they did an incredible job bringing it to life.
Uh, and I've been lucky enough to see it. Who is, are you able to tell us, there's a couple of things in there, like a spinning top and an umbrella. Does that have significance to the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this, well, a lot of people have said it is a spinning top, sort of like Inception, people like, is it reality? Is it not? I think it's the idea of like constant noise versus silence and peace and stopping, the umbrella, the circle, finding your center. I mean, OCD is a very quiet disorder in the sense that it's invisible. People outside of it typically don't see it. So it's made up of obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are unwanted thoughts and feelings that occur that really distress individuals. And then compulsions are rituals or routines that alleviate the anxiety and obsessions. And sometimes they can be physical, like you've seen probably in the news and the media, people washing their hands or flicking light switches or things like that. But they can also be, wow, I went totally blank. They can also be intrusive thoughts. So we can have mental compulsions,
Okay.
uh, which is actually more common. So that's things like you see Charlie in the film
Yeah.
experience, whether that's violent sexual intrusive thoughts, like, what if I kick my pregnant wife in the belly? Or what if I accidentally hurt my child? Or they're really scary thoughts. And they all go for anyone with OCD. The term is ego dystonic. They're all against values, right? So all of us, none of us want to do these things. That's why the thoughts scare us so much. And then we engage in a compulsion to alleviate ourselves. So really, Charlie is trapped and protecting his family from, the noise and angst that he's experiencing in his head.
And I know Ralph's character, Charlie, wrote Our Cruel Demons, which I
Yeah.
thought was wow. So tell us about OCD, what it means and what it stands
Yeah.
for.
So obsessive compulsive disorder is OCD. Obsessions are unwanted thoughts and feelings. Individuals get caught up in a cycle of obsessions or compulsive. So unwanted intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that trigger intensely distressing feelings.
Okay.
And then compulsions or behaviors an individual engages in to attempt to get rid of the obsessions and or decrease the distress. So, let's say you touch something dirty, your hand feels icky and you can't really do anything. You're feeling stuck and super anxious. And then let's say you go to wash your hands and that relieves your anxiety. Everyone has obsessions. Everyone has compulsions, right? You can be obsessed about your favorite sports team and you can go to every game and you can buy all of the merchandise, right? But the question is it interfering with your life or not? And when it starts to interfere with your life, that's when it becomes a disorder.
So like when we say, we do something, my kids will say, God, mom, you have OCD. That's because I'm like cleaning or doing the same thing. I mean, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a great question. So there's a terrible stigma around OCD. So most people use it in the vernacular of meaning like a personality quirk
Okay.
or a trait, like when somebody's like at the work likes their desk neat and somebody says, "Oh, I'm so OCD, I really need it this way or that way." OCD is a very debilitating disorder and can take up hours, if not your entire day, and be extremely painful. And so when somebody says, I'm so OCD, it's actually really offensive to individuals with OCD. Nobody wants it. It isn't fun. It isn't a quirk. It isn't a personality trait. And it's not a decision. It's a disease. It's a disorder. So it's important to educate, reduce stigma, and let people know how awful this illness is. Very treatable, but very debilitating and often goes many years before it's diagnosed, let alone treated.
And how does diagnosis come? Going to a specialist or?
Yeah. Oftentimes, psychologists, psychiatrists, sometimes a primary care physician. And then once you're diagnosed, sometimes medication is introduced, but there's a first line gold standard treatment called exposure and response prevention, which is a cognitive behavioral therapy. And that is sort of the first approach to treatment and can be very, very effective. And there's other modalities of treatment as well. But I think most in media portrays OCD as sort of this personality quirk. I mean, look at Monk, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
his superpower. Or Jack Nicholson is as good as it gets. It's funny. When in reality, if somebody were actually dealing with OCD, they would be in pain all the time. They would be struggling and suffering all the time, right? So that's why this film is so special because a lot of the films that are good about OCD usually alleviate the discomfort using comedy. And this particular film doubles, if not triples down on the discomfort and the angst that goes around with actually experiencing OCD, which is what makes it so profound.
So then is OCD, I mean, there's anxiety, there's panic attacks, there's depression. How does that all fit in together? Does it?
Yeah, they're all absolutely. So anxiety can be a part of OCD. For instance,
Okay.
when you obsess and you feel anxious But depression is its own diagnosis, anxiety, panic disorder is its own diagnosis, and OCD is its own diagnosis. So they're all individual diagnoses within the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual. Fun to say.
Yes, I was gonna say it again.
Yeah, no way, Judy. So yeah, they're all individual, and actually, OCD is it affects roughly 2.3% of the population worldwide. It's the 10th, one of the top 10 reasons people go on disability. It costs the U.S. economy about $4 billion a year. So, I mean, for such a prominent mental health disorder, it's not really understood, and it's stigmatized in a way that, not all, but many diseases and disorders are not.
Yeah, because I unfortunately I have anxiety. I think it's hereditary because all of my mom's side of the family has it, and it's gotten to where I have panic attacks, where I've even passed out. But I've been working on that with breathing exercises and all kinds of stuff, and I feel that I can ride this. I couldn't even ride the subways in LA and be on elevators, and it's all really changing because I just got help and the breathing. So I was just worried like, what is OCD? And it wasn't diagnosed with that. So.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And sometimes it can be standalone. You can have a panic disorder or anxiety disorder. And sometimes there's obsessive and compulsive thoughts as well. But there's a lot of intertwinedness, obviously, if you're having severe obsession and compulsion, OCD, then you're probably depressed, and if you're having really intense, intrusive thoughts, you're probably anxious. So there's a lot of overlap.
It's amazing what our brain does to us, right?
Absolutely.
Whoa, and our heart. It's like the heart and brain have to work together to keep us all sane in a
I
good
know,
way.
and what do you pay attention to? And I mean, anxiety is fight or flight, right? So it's
I know.
screaming. It's part of our amygdala and our caveman senses, where is there a noise? Is there a dinosaur behind the bushes, or is it a bird?
Yeah.
So it's like it's sending an alarm to us, going, "Oh no, we have to panic," and really nothing's wrong.
Can you tell us about the amazing cast of this film?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ralph Ineson is the lead. Ralph is an absolutely incredible actor. You may have seen him in Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, The Green Witch. He just was cast in Galactus in Marvel, the bad guy. So and I think one of the huge Marvel films, Secret Invasion or Fantastic Four or something. So Ralph stays very, very busy. Followed up by his wife, Krissi Bohn, Sophie Bould, Howard Samuels, the newsreader. There really is an amazing cast and a small, mighty cast. But Ralph, for someone that doesn't have OCD, he did an incredible job, obviously spending lots and lots of time with Steve and Rolfin and doing his homework. Really captures the anguish that people with individuals with OCD really experience.
I mean, just for a 17-minute film, I believe, right?
It is,
And
yeah.
I mean, Ralph could get an Academy Award. That's how great he was in this film. I had to watch it twice because it has me so mesmerized. I go, wait a minute, what I miss? It's just, folks, everyone has to see this movie. You got to go out and get your tickets for next Thursday. I
Yeah.
also,
You can also visit waivingfilm.com and read all about it and click on the link. It's available on YouTube as well, so you can watch the film.
always social media. You know what, Ethan, I also noticed when I was watching it, the actress who plays Grace, that Sophie, is it pronounced Bound
Yeah,
or
Sophie Bould. Yeah.
Bould? She was wearing colors that represent suicide awareness, purple and teal, right? Was that kind of clever?
Teal is actually the color for OCD.
It is? I
It
did not
is.
know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
an amazing color. So yeah, I just noticed her sweater was like,
Good eye.
purple and then teal, and I'm like, hey,
And her name is Grace.
hey, Grace. Oh,
And and that's kind of what we all need when we're suffering and struggling is we need to give ourselves self-compassion and grace. And that's exactly what Charlie receives in a personified way.
and I always ask about the score for the film. What can you tell us a little bit about that? The score, the music used for it.
I mean, the music is incredible.
Now, was it Girl in Red did one of the songs?
So the girl in red did the end track song. It was
Okay.
already written. She has OCD and has talked about it, and we reached out after shooting and got permission to use the song for the short, which was really really cool because it's a perfect song.
Yes.
And so we felt very, very honored that she would lend her song to the film. I was looking for the music department. Looks like just Ural in Red is noted. The sound, I mean, the music, but the sound design even more so is really crucial to the film. It really adds a level of angst. It adds a level of discomfort. It's nails on a chalkboard, but for your mental. So the sound design was really important as well, along with obviously the lighting and production design to really capture the full experience of what it feels like to have OCD, in your mind and internally and intrusively, holistically. So
Yeah. So you being involved with this film, Waiving, what do you want the viewers to take away from this film?
The biggest thing as an OCD advocate and as a filmmaker is obviously I hope you're entertained, but I think most viewers should walk away feeling like, wow, I had no idea that's what obsessive compulsive disorder is like to experience. I think, the majority of individuals have no idea that's what it is. They're used to hearing about it and seeing it in the media and just kind of thinking about it as a personality quirk or a cute little trait, which, listen, it's nobody's fault. There's miseducation. So I would like people to walk away from it going, wow, I had no idea, or perhaps you recognize some of it in yourself. I mean, obviously, I hope that's not the case, but lots of people are suffering in silence. So if you see the film and it resonates with you in some way, we have lots of resources when you go to waivingfilm.com. And so, maybe you can explore and you can find help. But ultimately, I hope people get a better understanding of what it is to live with OCD.
Yeah, what type of advice do you give to those who may see that and then think, am I like that? Do I have that? Do they go seek their primary
I
physician?
mean, first, just know you're not alone
Okay,
at all. I mean, I think that's the first thing, is know you're not alone, know that there's help and hope. Most likely, if somebody sees the film and goes, oh my gosh, that's me, or I've been doing this, or whatever, I think it's not going to be a surprise. I think they've been experiencing it for a while or really start to reflect and question. And then, yeah, my biggest suggestion, if you ask me, is I would probably skip the primary care physician. It can kind of sometimes lead you down the wrong path. I would immediately go to a psychologist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist that specializes in OCD and related disorders, and do a diagnostic and an intake just to get a formal diagnosis or see what's going on.
well, because some people get afraid of doing that kind of stuff. What, when you went the first time, you said were you in college? I forget, how old were you when it?
It's changed a lot. So the average time from diagnosis to treatment was roughly 17 years. And it's gone down to about 12 to 14 years, which is horrific, right? Could you imagine
Yeah. What?
going to the doctor for a foot problem and it takes you 12 years to find a
No.
podiatrist? But that is unfortunately the statistics. And that's for a number of reasons. Lack of education, lack of understanding, how much is taught in medical school, what people believe OCD is, and it's a very highly specialized treatment, even though it's very accessible. So, if you think you have OCD, definitely know you're not alone. Definitely know there's help and hope. You can also visit the iocdf.org, which is the International OCD Foundation. There is an incredible amount of resources on there, and also a resource directory where you can access psychiatrists, psychologists that have lots of experience with OCD, so you can start out in the right place. But for me, I was born with it, as far as I know, and really struggled till I was in my 30s, even though I went to numerous psychiatrists, numerous psychologists that did talk therapy, psychodynamic therapy, and there's nothing wrong with those therapies. They're just not helpful for OCD. And it wasn't that the therapists were trying to, they were all very sweet and I'm sure very good at what they do, but just didn't know. And so we're working very hard to make sure that everybody can seek, access treatment very, very quickly, at least quicker than it used to be.
So on the film Waiving, did you have, were there also people that worked on it as either executive producers or producers that had OCD and this organization that worked with the film?
Yeah. So the other executive producer, Catherine Benfield, is an amazing OCD advocate in the UK. And we knew each other, and that's who reached out to me to see if I wanted to get involved with the film. So myself, Catherine, and then Steve all have OCD. And so, A, wanted to tell the story, make sure to share it in a really realistic way, and make sure we stayed true to the community and offered hope and resources as well.
Yeah, I just read where you just got back from an OCD conference. What goes on at a OCD conference?
Yeah, the International OCD Conference put on by the IOCDF happens every year. It happens in a different city every year, and it really is an amazing event. It's 3 days of individuals with OCD, oftentimes their families, as well as world-renowned psychologists, psychiatrists, researchers, clinicians, all in one place, which is unlike most conferences where it's either lived experience or it's either professionals. This is completely mixed, and so you can go and you can obviously go to different panels on a variety of subjects, learn as much as you can, but you can also have access to the top minds in the field to be able to ask them questions, get help, understand better what's going on, and hopefully get some direction. A lot of people go for the first time knowing that they may or may not have OCD, maybe have a formal diagnosis, but don't really know where to go from there. And so it's important, if you're there, then you're in a good spot. And we had over 2,300 people last week. So it was a pretty amazing conference. It was a good time.
Where's it going to be next year?
Next year it'll be in Chicago for its 30th anniversary. Yeah.
30. And how can our viewers reach that site?
Yeah, they can just go to iocdf.org and they can read all about OCD. And if you go to waivingfilm.com, that will take you to actually Catherine's website called Taming Olivia. She's done amazing work with kids in OCD. So both sites will have tons and tons of resources. It's a great place to go, and you will be definitely on the right direction in your own journey. If you know somebody that's experiencing something similar, definitely visit those sites. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds amazing. Sounds like something those of us that wonder, should attend. Ethan, do you have your own social media for yourself?
Believe it or not, you can follow me at ETHWriter, that's ETHWRITER on Instagram. But otherwise, I stay pretty low key on social. I'm weird. I'm strange. My wife is an amazing mental health professional and influencer, and I leave it mostly to her. If you're watching and wants to reach out and find out more, I am always available, and you can email me at ETHOCD, so that's ETHOCD@gmail.com, and please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. How did you and your wife meet?
So we actually met in an OCD walk. We both have OCD. We both advocate for OCD. We became the best of friends and then fell in love.
Well, that's the best way to do it.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Well, anyways, you have anything else to share with us before we say so long?
No, this has been wonderful. I would say, if see the film, leave a comment, pass along the resources, if it resonates with you. Like I said, no, you're not alone. There's help and hope. You can get better. You can live. If you have OCD and you're in the middle of an OCD journey and you see this, know that there is freedom from OCD. While there's no cure, there's definitely freedom, and you can live the big, beautiful life that you deserve to live. So.
Yes, and folks, like I said, it's going to be premiering it's opening night of Holly Shorts on Thursday, August 8th. And so the TCL Chinese Theater, we all know where that's at on Hollywood Boulevard. So come on out and support. And will you be part of a red carpet that they're having?
Unfortunately, I will not be there, but my producing partner, Russ at Grouchy Dog Films, will be there supporting. If you can't find the theater, just look for Dirty Elmo, and you should be able to find it.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time here at the Hollywood Times, and this will go up on our YouTube channel, which is Hollywood Times Official, and we will be getting that to you. We do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about your great film, Waiving and OCD.
No, my pleasure, Judy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.